What's going on, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wizards. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. Kjose, what's going on?
How you feeling, my brother? I'm doing all right.
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. So, another episode. This is episode 27. And, the Wizards, they just came off of a loss last night to the New York Knicks. We definitely going to talk about that this episode, man. I know there's a lot that you want to say about last night's loss.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot, man. Somebody got their lunch money taken from them last night.
And who was that? That could be anybody, right? But anybody in mind?
It's only one. Yeah. Well, let me see. His last name rhymes with Bradford.
Oh, man, I knew you was going to bring up my man Gafford, but you know what? He was missing in action last night. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the real Daniel Gafford. Where's the real Daniel Gafford? Has anybody seen the real Daniel Gafford this preseason?
I don't know, man. It seemed like the Monstars might have took his basketball ability from him.
Man, that is just sad to hear, man. That is sad to hear.
Oh, it was sad to watch.
Yeah, exactly. It really was. I was tweeting during the game yesterday, and I was just thinking, like, as I'm tweeting, I'm like, man, like Daniel Gafford really hasn't been doing much this season. Like this preseason, I'm just thinking to myself, like, he's in the game, he started the game, but it just wasn't what I was used to and what I was accustomed to over these last, couple seasons with him.
Right, right.
So anyway, if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in to State of the Wizards. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you give us some likes and you comment below. And we just going to keep this thing going, man. So let's go ahead and get started. So, like I said, Kjose, the Wiz versus the Knicks last night. Give me your assessment on last night's game and how you felt after that loss.
So what I thought about last night's game is that we pretty much were we actually got outplayed. The starting lineup that Wes Unseld Jr. put out there was just very lethargic. Um, Monte Morris looks horrible. As you see on Wiz's Twitter, some people are thinking that he might be the second coming of Eric Maynor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't. Um, you know, Daniel Gafford, we were just talking about him, man. Like Mitchell Robinson did whatever the hell he wanted. I mean, he was taking this dude's lunch, taking his milk, took his girlfriend, stole his damn bedroom. Anything he wanted, he did it to Daniel Gafford. Like it just looked horrible. It was terrible to watch.
With
The
that,
game,
wait, real quick. To his defense, he did have 5 blocks.
yeah, to his defense, he had 5 blocks, but that's about the only defense we can even talk about because he wasn't playing none on Mitchell Robinson. I'll tell you that.
Man,
Um, the bright spot about the game last night, and is DeLone Wright. I know I have been kind of critical of DeLone Wright, but watching him last night, I said, okay, 6'5", he's scrappy, he's kind of all over the place. It don't take much for him to look better than Monte Morris, but it actually looks a lot better alongside Bankroll. And then, of course, Rui Hachimura. I mean, he's had one hell of a preseason, playing aggressive. I'm seeing a little bit of the similarities of Carmelo Anthony out there. I know he said that that's a person whose game he kind of modeled himself after. So he's way more aggressive. The game is a lot easy for him. He's putting the ball on the floor. He's grabbing rebounds. He's just playing exactly the way people want him to play.
yeah.
But I have a question. Why is he not starting? Why is he not going to start the season opener?
Where do we start when we talk about Rui's development and where Rui is right now, man? Rui's just playing outstanding basketball, man. Just, what he's doing right now and what he's giving the fans and you see his energy, you see how he's active. You see how aggressive he is going to the basket. I mean, what else? He's hitting threes. He's hitting
Mm-hmm.
fadeaway mid-range shots. He's hitting the mid-range shot. He's doing everything you need to do at that position when he's in the game. There's nothing else you can ask Rui to do. Okay, defense. People are saying, well, Rui's problem was on the defensive end. It really wasn't the offensive end. Okay, fine. But guess what? Rui was playing exceptionally well defensively last night as well. He got his hands in the passing lane. He even had his hands on a potential steal that he didn't get, but he was there. He was in front of his man. He's active, right? So and then what do he have? 8 boards. He finished with 8 boards last night. So he's there to grab the boards. He's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I guess the only other thing you can say is what? Okay, if it's not defense, his offensive game is polished. Obviously, his ball handling. He proved that he brought the ball up the court last night, 90 feet, and from coast to coast,
Mm-hmm.
grabbed the rebound, went all the way up the floor himself, baseline jump shot, splash, 90
Yeah.
feet. So Rui Hachimura right now, in my opinion, should be the face of the franchise. Yes, I said it. Rui Hachimura right now should be the face of the franchise, folks.
I agree. Everything that you said, I 1000% agree with. Kyle Kuzma was looking terrible last night. I mean, he was taking contested threes. He was taking uncontested threes. He was turning the ball over. He just looked horrible last night. And there are people who feel that he should get a long-term deal, but Kuzma is showing you who he is. You already know I was never really all in on Kuzma. I've always said that we should sell him high. It's basically going to be a competition between him and Rui, and to me, it's cheaper to keep Rui than it is for Kuzma. People complain about Bertan's contract. You're going to be complaining about Kuzma's contract if he's retained. If he gets a 4-year deal, $100 million, some of you people who are advocating for it are going to be complaining about that.
Hold on, time
I
out. I
Go
don't mean
ahead.
to cut you off. Kuzma is not Rui's problem. That's not Rui's problem. When people make that argument, oh, Kuzma's in Rui's spot, that's not true. Rui has now developed himself
Yeah,
into a small forward, man. He really has.
right.
Like if people can't see this by now, then I can't help you. He's becoming a two-way reliable three. Okay, somebody who can stretch the floor.
Hmm.
He can play inside and out. He can go coast to coast, in the fast break. It's not like he can't run the floor. He's a three. So just I don't mean to cut you off on what you were saying about Kuz and Rui, them being in the competition with one another. Right now, Kuz is not Rui's competition. Who Rui's competition is Wes Unseld Jr. Because there should be no reason why Will
Yeah,
Barton is starting ahead of him. And if people are saying, well, that's actually supposed to be Deni's spot, and then Rui is supposed to be at the 4. Okay, but then at the same time, Rui plays a better 3 than Deni right now. So if you ask me, if we play a small lineup, for example, I would still put Rui at 3 and I would put Deni at 4. Let Deni be the stretch 4 because
yeah,
Deni can play, he can guard 3 and 4 with no problem. He can guard that power forward with no problem. The issue is Wes Unseld Jr. That's who I see
right.
being Rui's issue. That's his roadblock right now, is Wes Unseld Jr.
Yeah, it is his roadblock. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's not only just Wes Unseld Jr., I think it's even the organization who feels that somebody in the background is still telling Wes Unseld Jr. to play these veterans. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of veterans getting played in front of some of these young guys because what it does is it makes them the scapegoat when things don't go right. Oh, well, it's the young guys. They're not doing what they're supposed to. But how are they supposed to do what they're supposed to do? How are they supposed to go out there and prove themselves when they're constantly playing behind veterans who literally wouldn't be starting on a playoff team? Like, I gave, DeLone Wright his props. But let's be for real, my dude. On a playoff team, is DeLone Wright actually starting? The answer is no. Neither is Monte Morris starting.
These are
So
backups.
just to kind of bring, which say now?
These are backups.
Yeah, these are backups. So just to kind of bring it back to Rui, I mean, you're right. There's nothing that he has to prove. However, he's still going to have to prove himself to Wes Unseld Jr. The thing is, Wes is invested in his two Denver guys.
Yeah, and
And
that's that's
if anything,
that's
that's
the
going to
problem
cause
to
him
me.
to.
That's
Mhm.
the problem to me.
Oh, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
So, looking at the stats and what I saw last night was the three ball was a problem for Bankroll was 1 for 6, Kuz was a 0 for 6, Monte Morris was 0 for 5. Uh,
Ugh.
no need to talk about Johnny Davis. He's literally not even a factor out there. He was 0 for 5 from the field. 0 for 4 from 3.
Ugh.
And
Mm.
you're looking at guys like Gill off the bench. He was 0 for 3. So these guys shot terrible from the 3-point range, from 3-point line last night. What do you make of that? Do you see? I mean, it's a preseason game. We know these guys aren't going to go 0 for every game, but when you see
Mm.
one for 17 between Morris, Kuzma, and Bill, this is who the Wizards said your future was right there. 1 for 17 from
Mm.
three. What you make of that?
This is the type of team that we are when you don't have Porzingis playing. Porzingis is the reason why I say this team goes as far as he takes us. One of the things I noticed last night was, when Porzingis is not on the floor, the defense is able to cheat on bankroll and get the ball out of his hands. And what they do is they actually force everybody else to do something. And this is when you find out if these role players really can get the job done. And when you have Kuzma, what was he? 0 for 6 from 3?
Yeah.
When you start seeing that, when you see Monte Morris out there passing the ball, like there was a sequence when I want to say it was Will Barton drove to the basket. Mitchell Robinson was right there in the paint to meet him, and then he passes the ball. It was like they were playing hot potato. Like nobody really wanted to shoot. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody had any confidence in taking that 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
So Porzingis does change a lot of that because defenses have to respect Porzingis. So he is going to make Bankroll's job a lot easier. But another thing I'm noticing too is this team really needs a point guard that can get some of these big men involved. And that's the reason why you're seeing Daniel Gafford not looking too well. He needs a point guard that can throw that ball up to him. I know some people say, well, that guy could be Westbrook. Well, that other guy also plays for the Clippers. So I think our point guard play is going to be an issue this upcoming season as well. There's going to be some games that DeLone Wright is going to look good, and there's going to be some games that he's going to get outplayed. Um,
Well, one
but at
thing
the
I
end of the
know
day, man,
one thing I
go ahead.
know is Wes Unseld Jr. likes having Porzingis out there because it reminds him of having Jokic. It reminds him of being able to play through a big. He's going to be a big guy that that commands a lot of attention. So in Wes Unseld Jr.'s system,
Yeah.
someone like Porzingis makes a huge difference because you're going to run the offense through him and you're going to allow everyone else to play off of that. However, you and I both know that there's a good possibility under this type of system where you're putting Porzingis in a more vulnerable position because
Yes.
Porzingis is not Jokic. First of all, he doesn't have Jokic's skill quality as far as being able to put the ball on the
No, he
floor
does.
and distribute the ball at a high level. Uh,
Agreed.
Look, it's going to be there, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, Porzingis is going to have a lot of freedom in Wes Unseld Jr.'s offense. But the problem is that he's the likeliness of him being injured is very high. Why? Because the lanes are going to open up off of a pump fake. Guess what he's going to have to do? What did he do in the game? Who was that, against Charlotte, when he got sprained ankle?
Yeah.
He Euro stepped around his defender and he got a sprained ankle. So teams are going to load up eventually on him, when they realize, like, oh, okay, Porzingis commands a lot of attention. Throw bodies at him. He's going to get fouled hard. He's going to, people are going to come at him. They're really going to attack Porzingis. So I'm afraid of that in this offense. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you're the perfect team that I could see him rolling his ankle on would be the 76ers. Imagine him trying to guard Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid can put the ball on the floor. Joel Embiid can step out and shoot the three. But Joel Embiid also can play down on the low block, which we know that Porzingis is not wide enough to be able to defend him. So if Porzingis does a pump fake, let's say Joel Embiid goes for that pump fake, and he drives to the basket, and let's just say that driving lane just so happens to collapse on him at that very last moment, and he tries to do a Euro step, he can easily roll his ankle because he's frail. So the likeliness of him getting injured, I agree. If Wes Unseld Jr. is planning to run this offense like the Denver Nuggets, we are in trouble because we don't have a Jokic, we don't have a Jamal Murray, and who is going to be our Michael Porter Jr.? Who's supposed to be that guy? I guess people will probably say that could be Kuz, but I don't see Kuzma being that guy either. So the style of basketball that we're trying to play, in my opinion, would have been perfect 6-7 seasons ago. The NBA is it's way more modern, where you got more long athletic teams out there that we're just going to be outmatched against those teams. And that's another thing that we talk about, that I've been talking about the last several years, the lack of athletes on our team. That's part of the reason why we were getting beat up on the boards last night, because the Knicks was just much more athletic than we are. And we're going to see a lot of those teams.
Athletic, big, just way more hustle, way more dog ball. Like they get after it. We're not a team.
They definitely do.
We're not a team that gets after it. And here's the craziest thing. That's going to be a team that we're going 9 times out of 10 be aligning ourselves with, come March, late season, when we're battling for that 9th and 10th spot. The Knicks aren't projected to be any better than 8, right? So this is a team that we're supposed to be owning. This is a team that people are projecting us to be better than. Last night showed that we're nowhere near being better than the Knicks. And that's crazy to me. Yeah. I just think that, just looking at where the Knicks are, they feel like Randall is their guy. Even though Knicks fans don't feel like Randall is that guy, they still have other guys around them that can help them win. And their supporting cast right now just looks better than our supporting cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stat that stood out to me yesterday from the Knicks, 39 points, 24 rebounds combined between Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett. And then, Jalen Brunson had 27 points. When you give up that, you're going to lose every time.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, during the summer, when the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, a lot of people kind of chastised him for doing that. If he continues to play like that going into the regular season, I think those people who are talking about the Knicks making a bad, investment, they're going to eat crow.
I mean, literally what they was missing, bro. He was literally what they was missing. a point guard who can put the ball in the bucket. That's what they needed last season. You know,
Yep, and now they got it.
and now they got it.
So for real, not to cut you off, uh, teams should be glad that Donovan Mitchell didn't make it to New York, but they also should be disappointed that he made it to Cleveland. So
Yeah. So
let me ask you this, man.
yeah, go ahead.
We got to talk about it. I got to talk about this dude. What the hell is going on with Johnny Davis, man?
Well, seeing how we got 8 minutes left into this first segment, I'm gonna put it to you like this. Johnny Davis he's a huge concern right now. And I have a huge concern for Johnny Davis because Johnny Davis looks worse than a lot of other first round picks that I've ever seen play. I'm not even just like, I'm not
Yes.
being funny when I say this. He looks like the worst 10th pick in NBA history right now. And I'd have to go back. You remember when I did the assessment of the 10th pick? Remember how I said
Yes.
the 10th pick has a history of not being a good pick. Just in NBA history, the 10th pick is just not a good pick. I would say that even though Paul George is the last All-Star 10th pick that the NBA has drafted, and that was in 2010. We're in 2022. I would even go as far as saying that since then, all 12 players that have been drafted after Paul George, or 11 players that have been drafted after Paul George, is a lot better than Johnny Davis. So Johnny Davis, even over the last 12 years that teams have been picking at 10, I think he's the worst 10th pick. I think right now, based off of what we see, all right, based off of what we see, and again, I'm not trying to be funny when I say this. I want the kid to succeed. I want him to be good. I want him to show me that he's an NBA player. Right now, my dude, I'm serious, man. He looks like the worst 10th pick right now in NBA history, man.
Yeah. I'm not impressed with him at all. His the kid got his shot blocked by Derrick Rose last night, man. Come on, man.
From the
Derrick Rose
three.
is what six?
From the three.
Yeah, Derrick Rose is what 6'2", 34 years old, and he blocked Johnny Davis's shot.
Well, that
That's
goes
because
back.
Johnny Davis has a
Yeah, go ahead.
no because he has a slow release, so he has a very blockable shot. Johnny Davis can't get past his defender. Johnny Davis doesn't have any confidence in taking a shot. You know, some people are saying, "Oh, well, you know, his defense is on point. He could probably be a Marcus Smart or a Tony Allen." You know, I don't even know if I want to even say he's going to be those guys because those guys at least was able to shoot. This guy can't shoot right now. I mean, for real, he just. I know you said he's about as bad as Calvert Chain. Man, I think he might be worse than Mitchell Butler. I mean, he's terrible. I mean, he is terrible, man. I think he might even be worse than Tyrone Nesby. He is
All right.
horrible.
All right, look, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna name all the 10th picks since 2010. And you tell me if you believe so far, based off of what you've seen, if Johnny Davis is probably worse than these guys. All right.
Okay.
So after Paul George, because he's the last All-Star at 10, Jimmer Fredette. Jimmer Fredette, does he look worse than Jimmer Fredette?
Yes, because
Yes
Jimmer
no?
Fredette can shoot.
Okay. Exactly. Jimmer Fredette can shoot. Austin Rivers, does he look worse than Austin Rivers?
Yes.
CJ McCollum, does he look worse than CJ McCollum?
Hell yeah.
Elfrid Payton, does he look worse than Elfrid Payton?
Yeah.
Justice Winslow, does he look worse than Justice Winslow?
Yeah.
Thon Maker, does he look worse than Thon Maker?
They're about equal.
Okay, we'll give him that. He's equal to Thon Maker right now. Zach Collins, is he worse than Zach Collins?
Who?
Was Zach Collins? I think Zach Collins is still in the league, but from my
Yeah.
understanding, Zach Collins has put up some points.
Okay, so
So you may not know who he is, but I'm personally going to say that he's worse than Zach Collins right now.
okay, I'll take that.
Mikal Bridges, no brainer.
Please. Yeah, of course.
Cam Reddish.
Gosh. Woo. Ooh, that's a tough one. Wait a minute. Cam Reddish was yeah, he's actually worse than Cam Reddish, and he's not that good.
Jalen Smith for the Suns.
That's actually not fair because them two they play two different positions, but yeah,
Well, all of these
they
guys
probably
play the same position.
they
Yeah.
about equal. They
Okay.
about equal.
And Zaire Williams with the Grizzlies. He was the last year. Yeah, last year's draft pick.
Yeah, yeah, he's bad. He's worse than him.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So look, right now, man, I guess, and we have 2 minutes left. I'm gonna put it to you like this, man. What I would prefer to see out of Johnny Davis, and it's not just about offense with me. I think what I prefer to see whether or not he's going to be a more defensive type of player, someone who gets in the passing lane at least, someone who brings the energy off the bench, even if you're not scoring. Doing all of the little things, doing the little intangible things that don't show up on the stat sheet. I'm kind of looking for that out of John Davis right now because I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna put it to you like this. The best ability is still availability. So, I saw a post last night where someone said you can't even play this guy. I kind of disagree with that. I think you can still play him, but you're gonna have to put him in spots where, he's not so much of a liability out there where he literally is just exposing himself every play. Put him in. I don't care. I don't put him in
Yeah,
3 minutes left into the quarter if you have to, and give us those last 2-3 minutes of the quarter to see if he finishes the quarter strong.
right.
Because I'll be honest, man, and I'm just gonna keep it a buck, my dude. I don't even think this dude is. I think the G League is gonna eat him up too.
Yeah, yeah. There's some things I want to say pertaining to him and also Isaiah Todd, but I'm gonna save them when we come
We
back.
we can wait. We can wait. Okay, we'll do that. And you know what? It's less than a minute anyway. So let's go ahead and wrap this segment up. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll be right back and don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Wiz Nation, to part 2 of State of the Wizards. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. So, Kjose, we're going to pick up where we left off. You were going to, speak to the folks about your assessments of Johnny Davis thus far.
So, I have a question for you with, when it comes down to Johnny Davis. If let's just go with the idea that people say they believe they see Marcus Smart. In order for him to be a Marcus Smart type, what does he have to do to at least be on a Marcus Smart level? What do you need to see from him to be at least Marcus Smart?
Leadership, number 1. Number 2, just being able, like I said earlier in the first segment, was getting his hands in the passing lane, showing that he could be a defensive presence. And then number 3, just being active, like, serving a purpose in your role on the team. I don't even, that's the thing, man. Like, I think the problem is, and maybe this is something that I didn't think about, but it has to be the fact that the Wizards are trying to turn him into something that he's not. And,
I agree.
he's uncomfortable you have to find the comfort in that player. And I think that Johnny Davis looks like a player right now who is just lost at the game because it's something that he's not accustomed to doing. So when you're asking him to do something else, it's like pushing the reset button all over again. And you're like, wait a minute, this is not what I'm used to. You know, I thought you guys wanted me to be the shooting guard. No, you're asking me to be the combo guard. What's a combo guard? If you got to explain something like that to a guy like Johnny Davis, then that's where your issue starts. And now you're looking at a progression from that point, because the progression in his career has already happened from when he was a high schooler to a collegiate player. You know what I mean? That got him to the 10th pick. That's his progress. But now it's like all of that didn't matter at this level. Now the real progress happens now. And we're literally seeing a baby crawling at this point, and we're hoping that it can walk, man. It's just
Yeah.
That's
It reminds me of how we well, it kind of reminds me of how we're doing with Deni. You know, where we're trying to make him be a spot up shooter, and that's not his game. His game is more of a point forward, but we're trying to make him be, you know, I don't know if we're trying to make him be like a I don't know what it is we're trying to do. We're just trying to make him be a spot up shooter. I don't know if we're trying to make him be a Steve Novak or a Kyle Korver, and that's just not his game. So when it comes down to Johnny Davis, in order for him to be a Marcus Smart, for one, he's going to have to bulk up. He will also have to prove to be a vocal leader like a Marcus Smart. You know, everybody knows that Marcus Smart for the Boston Celtics is that guy. He's that vocal leader, just like how Draymond is that vocal leader
he's the
for
glue.
the Golden State Warriors. He's the glue guy.
Yeah,
So,
glue.
you know, Johnny Davis would have to be that glue guy, and I just don't see him being that type of guy.
Man, that's so
Um,
long away, man. I mean, we talking about 5, 6, maybe 7 year Johnny Davis before we get that Johnny Davis, man.
and even then, who's to say that we're going to be getting that Johnny Davis? Johnny Davis could be playing for another team 5, 6,
Exactly.
7 years from now. So
Exactly.
we don't even know who he is. So that leads me to another player, Isaiah Todd. I know a lot of people are down on him. I say that Isaiah Todd, if he could just be a poor man's Rashard Lewis that played for the Sonics minus the PEDs, can he be that? I see a little bit of similarities in his game, but I also wonder if Isaiah Todd is the reason why he's not progressing. You know, I feel it's a little bit of him, and then also feel that the organization just doesn't
Hmm.
know what to do with
Why
him
you,
either.
why you say that though?
That it's a little bit of him.
Yeah.
When he goes out there, it seems like he can dominate in the, you know, down in the G League, but then when he comes and play for us, then all of a sudden it's like he's lost. And I'm trying to figure out, is it him? Are we trying to make him be something that he's not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do the organization know what his identity is? Matter of fact, does he even know what his identity is?
Yeah.
You know, how good does he want to be? Does he really want to be great?
Yeah. Yeah. I that's the question mark with somebody like him as well. And here, let's do this. And we'll come back to this. Let's talk about the roster, right? And we'll get right to Isaiah Todd. But the Wizards finalized their roster today, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we have it as follows. Deni, and I don't know if you see this or not on Real GM, but they have Deni listed as a shooting guard. Not sure if that's if that's a mistake.
I want to say that's a mistake.
Yeah, because I'm all what is a GF? What is that? A guard forward? And that's Will Barton? What is that? I guess. So they got him at possibly guard or forward. Bradley Beal, shooting guard, Vernon Carey, power forward, Johnny Davis, a forward. They don't even have him listed as a point guard or a shooting guard. Daniel Gafford,
Wow.
center, Taj Gibson, Anthony Gill, Jordan Goodwin. So Jordan Goodwin was the bright spot who received the two-way player contract. Rui, Corey Kispert, Kyle Kuzma, Monte Morris, Porzingis, and Jordan Shackle, who also received the other two-way player contract, Isaiah Todd, and DeLon Wright. So that's your Wizards. That's your 2022-2023 Washington Wizards team, everybody. Kjose, just getting back to our talking point about Isaiah Todd. Jordan Goodwin looks like he's just finding his role. There was another player that did not make the team that I believe you wanted to talk about. He also looked great in his role. When you talk about Isaiah Todd, how far is he away from even someone like a Jordan Goodwin or the other player who you would like to mention in their roles? How far away or how difference do you see in their games?
He's still raw, man. I don't think he's ready yet. But here's what I will say. What works in Isaiah Todd's advantage is his age. I think he's only, what, 19, if I'm correct? So that's what works to his advantage. Um, I just don't know what the plan is for Isaiah Todd.
Mm-hmm.
People complain because he was the first pick in the second round. The Wizards traded basically Isaiah Jackson to get him.
Yep.
So you would think that there was a plan in place for him. See, this is the problem that we have under the Tommy Shepard regime when it comes down to these second round picks. Because take Cassius Winston, for example.
Yeah.
I thought they had a plan for him, and he's not here anymore. So will Isaiah Todd be another Cassius Winston where maybe about a year or two he's released because they can't seem to figure out his strengths and his we know what his weaknesses are, but what is his strengths? Do you know what his strengths are?
So Isaiah Todd right now, when he's out there, he's a stretch four, but he just reminds me of a very, very poor man's Lamar Odom.
Wow.
And I mean very poor right now.
Gotcha.
Like he could be, Lamar Odom was a lefty, of course, but he's a very, very poor man's him. And I think that if he can find that, like, I don't know if the Wizards realize, like, he can put the ball on the floor. He is a guy that can play the in-between game if he needs to. He can cross somebody up. He can take someone one-on-one. I don't think the Wizards trust that in his game. I don't know why they don't, but if you look at his size, he's 6'10". He has a great wingspan. Why is he just standing around on the three-point line shooting threes? I have no idea. Give this man the ball. Let him operate. Let him work. Let's see what he can do, on a one-on-one. Somebody his size and his ability, 210 pounds. It's not like he's a big, heavy set 6'10". This is a kid who's versatile. Let him show us the full repertoire, man. I don't think that the Wizards, he has the same problem Johnny Davis has. It's like, we don't want you to do what you've been used to doing that got you to this point. Let us mold you into the player we want you to be. It's the same problem.
Yeah, when you when you say it like that, it makes you think if you want to go into, let's just take it to from a music's perspective, where an artist gets signed to a record label and the record label tells them, you know what, we want to change you up a little bit. So what got you this deal? We want to change. We want you to go in this direction. We have a vision for you. And the vision is, we know that you're this type of singer, but we want you to be this other type of pop singer because that's what sells. So that's kind of how the way it is with Isaiah Todd, even with Deni. It's like, we want to make you guys hybrids. Well, my thing is this. If that's what you want, why don't you draft hybrid players? Why are you drafting players that are one-dimensional or that have one particular strength, and then you're trying to turn them into something that they're not? You can't teach them something that they never learned when they started playing basketball.
Right.
You draft those type of players,
Right.
which eventually I'm going to touch on about how the way we draft and when I look at this roster, what I see and what I don't see. But we consistently keep doing that. So when we drafted Johnny Davis, and I heard that we were going to run him at the point, and he even said it himself, he's never played the point guard position.
Mhm.
I was asking myself, why the hell are we going to try to teach him to be a point guard when that was never one of his strengths? And Real GM got him down here as a forward. I'm going to say that's a typo. But that's the problem with Isaiah Todd. If I don't know what it is that what they're trying to do for him. I don't know if they think that Isaiah Todd can be a small forward. I really don't know. But the Wizards don't seem to know either.
All right, so here's another thing about Johnny Davis that I recognize. Okay, I think you touched on it. Okay, lack of first step. That was something I pointed out from his very first summer league game. All right.
Right.
He doesn't have a quick release. He gets into a shooting motion very, very slow. Here's what I do notice that's the biggest concern. He's letting people body him. He's not strong. Like he's not intimidating. He doesn't give off that freak of nature, build. Like he doesn't have that. So he's gonna have to get in the gym. Right now, he looks
I
like
agree.
a boy amongst men, man.
I
That's what
1,000% agree.
That's what I see. That's the issue with Johnny Davis right now, if anything. He does not present a problem with his size, 6'5", 195. We're going to need you at 6'5", 210. We're going to need you to bulk up. We're going to need you to get some muscle on you. We're going to need you to be able to body some people up, get up on your ball handler, slide your feet, get in front of the ball handler and be physical. I'm not seeing that physicality. I think that's the number one issue that I have with Johnny Davis right now, my dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's just wipe everything else out. Okay, he doesn't have an offensive game. Fine. Guess who else didn't? Rondo didn't. But guess one thing you're never gonna say about Rondo? That he's not a presence, that he's weak.
Right.
You're never going to say that about the guys who don't have an offensive game. Guys who can't put the ball in the basket, those guys show up elsewhere. Defensively, they take charges, they grab rebounds, they're more physical. They're more physical.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what and it's not just him. There's a lot of players. So, I mean, this team lacks that physicality. We don't really have a tenacious rebounder, a guy that's just going to be grabbing rebounds. Again, I have to reference what we saw from Mitchell Robinson last night, how he was just having his way against Daniel Gafford.
Yeah.
We're going to see a bunch of players that's doing that. But for Johnny Davis, in order for him to be a Marcus Smart, he is going to have to bulk up. He's 195. He's small. Some people say he has that dog in him. I don't see it.
Who said that?
I see countless of people have said that.
Right now I'm seeing
that he has that dog in him.
I'm seeing the cat. I ain't seeing no dog.
Yeah, I don't even know if I even see the damn cat, to be honest with you. I'm seeing more of a mouse.
Oh,
I'm not seeing anything. Or better yet, he's more of the elephant when the mouse shows up. The elephant starts screaming when they see the mouse. He's just not ready. He is a raw as Russ could be product, and it really frustrates me that this organization refused to draft 3-and-D guys that are better than him. Some players that were drafted after him that are making impacts on their teams. This team, the Wizards literally drafted Johnny Davis knowing he wasn't ready. They did this on purpose. It's not that they don't know how to draft. It was just a safe pick. They were afraid to draft the right player. They knew what players they should have drafted, but they didn't want to for the sake of the win now.
So let me ask you this question, because I think we can go on and on about Johnny Davis. Where do you see what happens when Deni and Kispert return? What happens with rotations? where, what do you think these guys actually bring that this team right now could really use?
I think that's going to be a problem for Wes Unseld Jr., in my opinion. Um, Kispert, in my opinion, I feel Wes Unseld Jr. is going to find minutes for him. But the person I think that's going to find himself at the short end of the stick is going to be Deni. Well, the reason why I feel that way, having Will Barton on his team just makes it so challenging because that's a Wes Unseld guy.
Right.
So, unfortunately for Deni, Will Barton makes it tough for some of these young guys because the 3 spot was Will Barton's job to lose.
Yeah.
We know that it was put out there that it was open competition at the 3 spot, but you and I know that it was really Will Barnes' job to lose.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rui Hachimura, who played out of his mind during preseason, Wes Unseld Jr. couldn't even answer that question, tells you that it was really Will Barnes' job to lose.
Yeah.
So you pulling up Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah. I mean,
Man, I tell you, as I said to you, my dude, can you imagine having him and Porzingis in the starting lineup together in the front court?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, like, this kid's a dream, and I just think that I was talking to somebody the other day about him, and I said to him, he really is a one generation type talent, like, bar none. He is. I mean, you see his size, and he's still growing. They said he can probably hit 7'5", 7'6" when it's all said and done. And to me, man, it's unrealistic to think that a Victor Wembanyama can play for the Wizards. It's just unrealistic.
And why is it unrealistic?
Because we never draft guys like that.
But why do you think we won't draft Victor Wembanyama?
Why do you think because we want to win now?
Like, isn't that when you think about it, a kid like this, I don't know how true it is when people say that if he was in the draft with LeBron James, he would get drafted over LeBron. I don't know about that.
No, I believe that. That's how freak of nature he is. 7'4".
He is a freak.
LeBron will fall too. Easy.
The frustrating part about this is him and even Scoot Henderson, who's talented himself. These are two no-brains. And we're in such a position where we really don't want to participate in this sweepstakes at all. We want no part of it. And if it's true, and I believe this too, that any team that drafts Victor, they said that that franchise will earn an additional $500 million in marketing money. Isn't that what Ted Leonsis focuses on, about marketing money?
Yeah.
Why the hell would you not want this kid on your franchise? Because you're afraid that you're going to make somebody upset? I mean, come on, man. How often does a kid like this come along? You don't pass up on an opportunity like this, but we're the dumbass franchise that think that that we're smarter than everybody.
Well, because this dumbass franchise thinks that, we know how to push all the right buttons when it's necessary, or when it's, and that's and you know what, my dude, it has always been this way, but it's even more evident now when you see somebody like a Victor that's getting ready to come up, right? See, in 2003, when LeBron was projected to go out, Michael Jordan was just finishing up with the Wizards that year, remember? And 9 times out of 10, we weren't going to tank with MJ ever, right?
That makes sense.
But that made sense, right? But now, in this situation, they're still the Wizards are basically saying, we're better than that. And we weren't better than that even then with MJ on the team.
Right.
And we're not better than that now. And for some reason, this organization has always taken the attitude like we're too good to do something like this. And it's always been that way. To me,
Yeah.
I just don't for the life of me understand why we always feel that way. Why?
I don't know, man. I mean,
We're
again, this kid is talented, man. I've been following this kid since he was in junior high. I remember they were talking about him a few years back, and they were saying how good he was going to be. And he's 18 years old. He's, as you stated, he's still growing. He's only going to get better. Imagine when he puts on about a good 15 to maybe 20 pounds of muscle. The kid, he can put the ball on the floor. He can block. He's block shots. I mean, he's seven. What is he? Seven. What is he? 7'2"? Some. I think he's.
he's
I
seven
mean,
four.
he's 7'4", right? He's 7'4". Nobody's gonna shoot over him. I mean, he's literally a freak. This is what you lose basketball games for. But because we basically made a bad investment, we're stuck.
I saw a report today that said that GMs believe that OKC is likely to tank now that Chet is out, and they like the prospect of tank of Chet and Victor
Oh
Wembanyama.
my gosh.
They
Oh
they
my
love
goodness.
they love that prospect of those two guys playing together, and it would be like a Twin Towers situation in OKC.
Oh yeah, nobody's gonna be shooting over. And the thing is, OKC got themselves a nice little young squad there. You got Jalen Williams, and then you got Jang, who I was kind of not high on, but I'm looking at his highlights now. I mean, I got to see what he does during the regular season. But that leads me to the next thing: the lack of athletes that this franchise has. Like teams have actually got at more athletic, and when you look at our current roster, where are the athletes? I mean, for goodness sake, my dude, we cut Quentin Jackson, who's a high flying athlete.
That's who I
Why did
thought.
we do that?
Right. That's who I wanted you to bring up.
Why would we cut a high flyer? Like we are so allergic to having athletes on this team. I don't know if when we're interviewing these guys, if they're they must be asking like, well, have you ever cut class? Yeah, okay. We appreciate having this conversation with you. Next person, hey, Johnny, tell me something. When I put this play up here, what you think? Oh, well, let me show you this. Let me show you something. Let me show you this play that I can create. You know what? You're gonna be there at number 10. We're drafting you because we like what you're talking about.
That's all it took.
Can you jump out of the gym? No. Okay, you just a perfect prospect. I'm finished. I was waiting for you to say something.
um, Look, man, I, to me, Quentin Jackson getting cut, and we knew that the possibility of him making the team was very slim anyway. But what he showed people while he was on this team, while he played for the Wizards, um, it showed that he was still better than who you drafted at 10. Like, he was actually supposed, in my opinion, he earned a roster spot where by default, another guy just got the roster spot because he was drafted at 10, but he was actually just a better overall player than your lottery pick.
Yeah.
And to me, going back to what you just said about how, guys who are athletic, who have the ability to, bring matchup problems to opposing teams because of their athleticism and because of their abilities to just be able to play the game. It's almost like the Wizards just say, okay, thank you, but no thank you. But hey, because you can draw up a play and because, you come here and you say, yes, sir, you fit everything that we're looking for. And the
Yeah.
person with all of the with all of the gifts in the world, that player is the one who, for whatever reason, gets shown the exit door. And that is absolutely the problem with this franchise. Like, without a doubt, that's the problem with this franchise.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
no, and I was done. I was just gonna say, and I don't think we're ever gonna learn from it. Me
No, we
personally.
haven't. We haven't. I mean, if again, think back to the 1985 draft. I believe it's the 85 draft. The Bullets had the number 14th pick, and they selected Kenny Green. Who was picked right after that? Utah was on the clock. They drafted Karl Malone, who is a Hall of Fame.
Come on,
You
man.
know what I'm saying? Like we literally missed the boat a lot of times on purpose. I think that this team will be so foolish if they were in that 1984 draft, if they were picking number one. I think this franchise would have been dumb enough to pick Sam Bowie over Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
No joke. No joke. They probably would.
Because why would they want to draft Michael Jordan? Oh, well, this Mike Jordan kid, yeah, he can jump out of the gym. But you know what? I don't like his attitude. I heard he's a real asshole.
Yeah, they
So
would
we
have
don't
found a
want
way.
him.
Yep, they would have found a way not to draft him. Absolutely.
We
Yep. Spot on.
like we just don't draft athletes. I mean, Benedict Mathurin, we had no shot at getting him. But even if he was available, do I really trust that this franchise would have drafted him if he was available? No, because there were so many other players that were available at number 10 who are athletic, who are 3-and-Ds that we refused to draft because we just like the kid because he can draw up a damn play.
It's
Or because he probably, you know, might be good to bring home to meet your damn daughter.
right, exactly. Just stupid, man. But let me read this article real quick and then we'll move on. But it says here he's unreal, man. One executive said the way he moves, I watched highlights of him all summer, but seeing him move in person was like, what the F? Nine times out of ten, that's what was said.
Of course.
And further, going down further in the article, it says locks to tank. Three teams already seem committed to chasing the worst records in the league. The Spurs traded Murray to Atlanta. The Jazz dumped Mitchell and Gobert. The Rockets are heading into their third year of their rebuild. Each team
Oof.
has talented players, but the Spurs and Jazz have moved off of talented players. The Rockets have a long list of bright young prospects, but may not be appreciably better than the squad that won a league worst 20 games last season. The bottom three teams have a 14% chance of landing the top pick or an 86% likelihood that they don't get Wembayama, which isn't great. While Henderson is a very nice prospect, he's not a let the season go to hell in October type of prospect, at least for most NBA franchises. And that is true. Like Scoot is definitely a great prospect. I mean, he's a great number two, no doubt about it. If Wembayama wasn't in this draft, he would 9 times out of 10 be number one. But I don't think that teams are really looking to tank for him more so than they would be tanking for Victor.
I
When
agree. But here, let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Scoot wouldn't be an asset to the Washington Wizards? I mean, do you think he wouldn't be an asset?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what? Hell yeah, I do. I mean,
Okay, well,
at this point, it would be tank for either one for me.
oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure because I'm looking at it like for some other teams, I can understand that. But for our team, oh, we shouldn't be sitting there saying it. That's the reason why we're in the situation that we're in now because we too cool for school, but we look like damn fools.
Right. And I think even, most teams are in lockstep with, you know, who they like at at 1 and 2. I think most teams are in lockstep. I think where it
Yeah,
starts getting
absolutely.
dicey though, where it starts getting dicey is when you start saying like, okay, we may fall 6 or 7. Okay, now at this point, you don't know if 6 and 7 that can change. And so for the Wizards, 9 times out of 10, we're gonna be right back where we were last season. And I think
I get I get that.
and I think that's the problem is that if we not all in on tanking, if we not locked in to get in the top 5 pick or the top 3 or the top 2 pick, then we really need to start thinking like, well, how do we draft better? Like, who do we like? They need to find other ways. That's where I'm at. Like you're not going to get the player that you want ever between 6 and 10, but you always are going to get the player that you want between 1 and 3. That's how I look at it anyway.
I do agree. The only problem is that we don't have the proper scouting department to say that. So in order for this, the only way this team can find the right way to draft better or to draft smarter is you got to blow it up. You got to blow up the scouting department. You got to change the general manager. You got to bring in somebody with brand new ideas. One thing that somebody said on Twitter, and I have to agree with this guy, is that the draft no longer, it doesn't matter whether you come from a big school or a small school. You can find talent in the draft. And as we saw, this draft that just passed, on paper, it looked like it was an enigma. You was kind of wondering like who was going to really do this, who was going to really do that. Now you're starting to see, okay, there actually is some talent in there. You just got to know how to sift through the talent and figure out who makes sense. And we're in a situation that if we're so scared to draft properly that we'll just go with the safe pick. And that's how we got Johnny Davis. We were scared. That's how we got Corey Kispert. I don't have a problem with Corey Kispert, but let's be honest. He was a safe pick. You know, there were other players that we could have traded up that we didn't really have to give up the farm to get. Chris Duarte would have been a perfect prospect. Kuminga was a perfect prospect. We just didn't do it. So
we're not aggressive. We're not
aggressive.
We're not aggressive.
And that's the reason why I don't believe that we were really truly aggressive enough to get the number 4 pick where we could have got Jaden Ivey. I don't think we were super, because for one, we didn't even offer the most valuable piece that we had on our team.
Right.
Everybody complains about the young guys, but then they want to include the young guys in the damn trade package.
Right.
You can't sit there and say that these guys don't give you nothing, but then they're good enough to be included in some type of trade package.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. I hate that argument. I hate when people are saying, you know, oh, well, Rui and Deni aren't this good and they're not that good. But when it comes down to acquiring a Kevin Durant or any other player that's good, you're saying, oh, well, let's include Rui and let's include Deni. Now all of a sudden they're good enough to acquire top tier talent. Get out of here with that, man.
Yeah, that's foolishness. I mean, at the end of the day, the team is who they are. But I think in order for this team to really right the ship, you know, Ted has to be open to doing a cleanup in the front office. Yeah. You know, you gotta get somebody coming in with some new ideas. And even if that means that particular general manager is going to move your favorite toy, you gotta want to do that if you want this team to win. Yeah. There's a reason why there's no excitement about the season opener this come Wednesday. What is there to be excited about?
Right.
You know? There's nothing to be excited about.
And that's there's not much to be excited about, but what I can say is that there's gonna be games this season where people are optimistic only because of the fact that it's early. So, you know, like for example, Wednesday, first game of the season against the Pacers. You know, people are optimistic that we have a shot to beat the Pacers. And let's just say we win that game, we go 1-0. Well, there's optimism for 2-0. You know, even though you and I are like, okay, we know it was just one game. Okay, it was just 2 games. We're going to have to constantly remind ourselves, just like last season when we were 10-3, depending on what the start is, depending on how well we play or even how bad we play. It's early. So it's not excitement, but it's just the simple fact that people are expecting early results, and they're expecting positivity in the early results.
Understood. So I know we got like 3 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you a question, and this will end the episode. Wes Unseld Jr., does he finish his 4 years as a head coach, or do you think he will be fired at before then?
Great question. I say that he finishes only if we are 500 or better this season. But I believe if we fall 10, 15, if we're 15 games below 500 this season, I think he gets canned. I don't even think the Wizards wait until the end of the season. He's on a contract that's not very expensive. I think you could pay him out, but it would only be his second year. But with the direction of the team and what Ted and Tommy claim that they want, as far as the win now, they're going to use that as a reason for why they let Wes Unseld Jr. go. They're going to say that, he was unable to provide us with, what we want him to do as far as the win now. We thank him for his services, yada, yada, yada. You and I both know that's just going to be smoke and mirror talk. It ain't going to matter who the coach is, because this roster is just not going to get it done. That's just the bottom line. But just to answer your question, if we go 1-9, he's out in 10 games. I mean, what you think? We got a minute left.
I think I don't know, man. I think probably by next season. I think this season, depending on how the way it goes, he probably won't be canned. But I think by next season, if we start off sluggish, which is very possible, I think he will be canned by next season.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, neither one of us believe that he's going to fulfill the entire 4 years if we continue to go in this direction, this losing direction. We don't make the playoffs. So I think that's realistic enough for me that I think it could happen. So anyway, that concludes this episode of State of Wizards. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, be sure to subscribe to State of Wizards. Make sure you follow me at Wizards Mafia on Twitter. Follow DC Hoopla at DC Hoopla on Twitter. And we will see you guys on the next episode of State of Wizards, and continue to support the channel. Thank you and good night.